This semester, I learned so much information. We learned about different headings. We learned about different ways to format papers, the different types of page layouts, how to present effectively, how much information is too much on a slide, how to incorporate figures. They were so much information, that I can think of right off the top of my head. At the same time, though, we were learning so much information that sometimes it was hard for me to retain, what we were learning, and we were moving from topic to topic that I kind of got lost sometimes and forgot some of the information that I that we talked about before. Biggest thing, take away from me was the arts and scraps project. Um, it was challenging at times, it was easy at times, and it required a lot of work. But I honestly really enjoyed working with Arts and Scraps, and I don't just say that. I think they're an amazing organization doing amazing things. Um, and some I guess I should start with what were some of the challenges of that project. Well, I'd say one of the challenges was um, being an athlete. There were times where things were scheduled that I couldn't make. We were gone. Um, so I think that definitely was one of the challenges, but also at the same time, it was definitely a plus in terms of, for me, communication, especially uh, having Zach, Kamish, and Trey, all on the same team with me in the locker room or on the practice field. We could be talking about what we're going to present in class, or what our next step is on the project, or what needs to get done every single day, because I see him at least 3 to 4 times a day. So that was really cool. Some of the challenges now, and so one of the big challenges was communications with Arts and Scraps. Especially, I could tell for Zach, especially, um, you know, the responses he were getting were slow, or sometimes they weren't detailed enough, and he'd have to send another email. And then finally, when we got it, the answers were great. They did a great job of explaining to us what they wanted to do, but at times it was definitely challenging, because obviously, without knowing what they wanted, we couldn't really start on aspects of the project. Um, in terms of my team functioning, as I previously mentioned, being on the lacrosse team was a plus and a minus. And, I really want to give big props to Zach. He really led us. Honestly, we wouldn't nearly have been as successful without him there. He organized a lot of things. He told us what we needed to do, when it needed to be done. And, there were times where we weren't always on time with what we needed to do. He was extremely patient about it. Big props to Zach, and I think we already know each other really well. Um, Being on the team, for example, we have freshman duties, so we're already used to kind of not being afraid to tell each other that, man, you need to get your job done right now. So um, I thought we functioned really well as a team. In the future, um, I really think I should have branched out, or at least only had two lacrosse guys and two non-lacrosse guys. Not just so much that it's kind of, I feel like it's just better to work with people you're not used to, as it's a lot more real in terms of what I'm going to experience in the future. The next thing I'm going to talk about is service learning. So for the arts and scrap service learning, I went to Campus Marshes, and then I went to their warehouse and retail location. So the best part for me easily was the Campus Marshes event. It was, I mean, there was funny to see some of the drunk parents who definitely had a little much to drink, but it was really funny and really cool to see the joy on some of those kids' faces. Who would have thought, taking a piece of cardboard, two ties, some sand, and some glue, um, would create so much fun. In that 4 hours I was there, I probably saw 150 kids, maybe more. Um, and it was really cool to see how creative they got. The whole concept was to build a sled, but by the end of it, some kids were building houses, some kids were building airplanes. Um, even though I was never even part of the guidelines. And I think that's what's so great about arts and scraps is, they take such simple things, and you're able to build such amazing and creative things, and kids have so much fun with it. Why go out and spend $200 on a set of Legos when Arts and Scraps can take recycled materials and provide just as much fun with 10 times more educational benefit? And so that was absolutely amazing for me. Um, you know, another cool thing was um, with Maddie, as our supervisor, we went down and we cut fabric, but something so small, you could definitely tell meant a lot to the employees there. Firstly, we had to start by carrying out these really heavy rolls of fabric that probably weighed over easily, I'd say 150 pounds. There's a lot of fabric. And then we also helped employees move things that you could clearly tell they just weren't physically capable of moving. And it's small things like that that make their job so much easier because they already have so much on their plate with customers coming in, and then also volunteers coming in and having direct volunteers. So, uh, cutting that fabric, it was tedious, it was long, but it was also kind of fun in a way, as having my classmates there. We talked a lot, we joked a lot. Um, we played on the xylophones they have in the little corner, and that was really cool. What have I learned over this semester? One of the big takeaways from working with Arts and Scraps was, that there's great organizations in Detroit that are doing so much. Before coming here from the West Coast, I'm from Oregon. Everybody was like, "Man, why are you going there? I've heard it's ghetto. You're gonna get shot." Um, and I think, just seeing a company like Arts and Scraps care so much about the community that they're in and do so much to help their community, um, I thought that was incredible. So here's kind of a funny story. So during that first week of orientation, everybody was like, "Man, this is gonna be so much fun," you know. And then we have Father Tim Hipskin come in, and the first thing he talks about to us is about service learning, and I'm like, "What's service learning? I want to have fun. I'm here to party and play lacrosse and go to school." Um, and we ended up doing this project, and I was like, "Man, we're gonna be in the heat. It's gonna be really boring." But when I got out there and we walked through those neighborhoods, it was really just interesting to see, the impact, we were having. So for my service learning, we had to clean up a bus stop because uh, families did not feel comfortable standing at that bus stop because there were these huge bushes behind them with a lot on the back. And cleaning out these bushes, you found heroin tinfoil, you found tons of liquor bottles. So it's extremely understandable why they don't want to stand at that bus stop, especially in the early morning or late at night. And so I think that was the first time I really got a changed perspective on service learning. Um, and even with this class, at first I was skeptical about, like, man, why are we working with Arts and Scraps? Like, they don't need, what are they doing for the community? And the more I got to learn about them, the more I saw the impact they were having on our local community. And I think that's really what the school is about. It's about, I think the mission statement of the school is a Jesuit education in an urban context. And a big part of a Jesuit education is that servant leadership part. And the only way to build, kind of, to be a leader is to go out and do things like that within your local community. Professional goals are a lot different from other people, and that starts with my background. So I was born in South Africa, an orphan. I lived in an orphanage for 3 years. And growing up, I saw, just driving around with my parents, the amount of poverty you saw was just incredible. People lived in slums, shack houses. And so, my whole goal, my whole life is with my life is to go back, um, and in some way contribute to the society to make it better and give back, never forgetting where I came from. And so, although a lot of people grew up in suburbs, with middle class, upper to wealthy family, and my parents did a good job of raising me to understand my privilege, and I've kind of grown to want to give back. Be in the future, if I run my own business, I'll be hiring people from local communities who don't have much, or I'll be donating money into local communities, or I'll be, sponsoring, service events in local communities. I don't really know yet because I'm not really at that point in my life, but it's a really big part of who I am. And so I know I plan to give back in the future. Lastly, I just like to end by discussing, future recommendations for the class. Well, my first recommendation would be that arts and scraps, not necessarily a project, but going and touring once should be mandatory service learning just because of the amount they do for the local community. Um, and, the moment people experience what arts and scraps is, they're a lot more likely to recommend arts and scraps to other peers in the future or to even give back financially or with volunteer hours in the future. The I have for this class is, there's so many local businesses around here that I think need a lot of help. For example, when I went to go get cornrows, I went. I think it was right up on 7 Mile. I went to this just really family mom and pop shop braiding place. Not much in there, and I went to go use the bathroom at the back, and it looked like there was a bed in there. Um, so there's a lot of I feel like there's a lot of businesses that could use the help of students like us to um, maybe help them better market their business, better get their business out there, and a lot of the same stuff could apply with like what we did with arts and scraps. Um, you know, Such as a lot of there's a lot of small specialty item store around here, so that could be another option for future students.